Hi guys, today we'll be making cinnamon rolls. So first you will need to warm up some milk to about 40 degrees Celsius. Then we will add some instant yeast or instant dried yeast. So these are quick yeast which would activate upon a warm liquid and some sugar inside. So make sure the milk is just warm, not too hot and not cold from the fridge either. Now give it a little stir once you add the yeast and milk together. Next, in a bowl of bread flour, add sugar, salt, the egg and egg yolk, and lastly the milk and yeast mixture. So next we will put it in a KitchenAid mixer or a mixer with dough hook attachment. So we will need to mix this until it comes together where there are no visible flour stuck onto the side of the bowl. It would take maybe about a couple of minutes, like 2 to 3 minutes. I speed up this video so it looks pretty fast, but it's actually not that fast. I only use a low to medium speed. So once you see the dough comes up together, add in the softened butter and continue kneading it for about, I would say, 8 to 10 minutes. So I took out a small piece and do a simple window pin check just to see if it's ready. So normally you'll be able to stretch it out quite thinly when the dough is ready. So here it's quite thin, but I think it still needs a little bit more work. So I took it out from the mixer and transferred it onto a work surface and started to do like a V kneading. So if you put it on the mixer for too long, the dough would tend to dry up pretty fast, but if you use a V kneading method, the dough will still be able to retain its moisture while still developing the gluten. So the second window pane test, it's pretty thin and I was able to see some gluten development. So I would now tighten it up into a ball, try to get the surface to be as smooth as possible, put it in a bowl, cover and put it in a warm place and let it proof for about 1 hour. So while we're waiting, we can make the coconut cinnamon sugar. You can use brown sugar or you can also use coconut sugar. I use coconut sugar and mix it with cinnamon powder. So the dough is now ready. I'm just going to do a finger poke test. And I'll pour it out into a clean work surface. Dust some flour onto your hands and lightly press out the dough. So here you would want to use a rolling pin and roll it out into a rectangular shape. So it's about 14 times 9 or 10 inches. So the trick to getting it to as rectangular shape as possible is to roll it from the center out diagonally to each corner. So instead of just rolling it like horizontally or like vertically, call it, you would need to roll it diagonally as well to each corner. And if you use this method, then you can get a rectangular shape much faster and better shape. So once it's done, spread softened butter. Some recipes would use melted butter, but melted butter is a bit too messy. So if you use a softened butter, like how you would spread butter onto bread, the cinnamon sugar would be able to stick on very easily and it wouldn't create a large mess. So once it's done, spread the sugar and make sure to pat down the sugar lightly just so it's stuck onto the dough. Make sure you get all the sides, all the edges, and you have to be pretty generous with this, otherwise you wouldn't be able to get the cinnamon. And if you're using coconut sugar, it really isn't that sweet. So pat it down, make sure it's all covered. Then we would need to roll it up into a Swiss roll. So it might be a little tricky when you start rolling it because the dough and the cinnamon sugar doesn't really stick well together. So you need to apply a little bit more pressure and press the dough like a stretch and roll, and start rolling it. Make sure that the dough is tight all the way to the top. Turn down to the seams and pinch it together, and turn it back down. You can push the dough in from the sides just to make sure that it's a little more even shape, and then cut it to 9 pieces. So I will arrange it in a 9-inch square pan into a 3x3. Leave some gap in between because they would still expand during the second proofing. So for this, if you want to eat it immediately, you can do a room temperature proofing, which means you would leave it out for maybe 30 to 45 minutes. And then you can bake and eat them straight. So I'm doing a cold proofing, so I put this into the fridge immediately and left it overnight, about 10 hours. So when I took it out the next morning, it's a little bit bigger but not as much, so I left it to proof for another 30 minutes, and also so that the dough could come back to room temperature. I'm going to bake this at 175 degrees Celsius for 20 to 22 minutes. Next, we're going to make the cream cheese icing. So this part is optional. You can have the cinnamon rolls by itself, but I'm just being a little extra and I thought I would make the cream cheese icing as well. So whisk or beat up the softened cream cheese until it's lump free, then add in softened butter and vanilla paste or vanilla extract and whisk it until it's all combined and that you don't see pieces of butter or pieces of cream cheese around the bowl. Then next you can add in icing sugar. I only have 1 tablespoon of icing sugar left, so that's all I'm going to use for the topping. So whisk it until it is fluffy. Then you can set it aside until your cinnamon buns are ready. Okay, it's done. So remove it from the oven. Leave it to cool for about 5 minutes before you remove it. Now once it is cooled down for a little bit, you can spread the cream cheese icing on top. And serve it.